Welcome to our TV trivia video on Patreon. This is Tim in Tokyo.
And this is Paul in Hanover, New Hampshire, where it's not snowing yet, but you look away and look back, and it will be.
Great White North, eh?
Yeah.
So this is our 14th video of 20th century TV trivia, generally centered on when else, the 60s and 70s.
Yes, the period where our brains still live, even though our bodies apparently live in the 21st century.
Yeah. And this one is no exception. So, our first question this time is a callback. 3 years ago, we did a Patreon-only podcast about Nancy Sinatra's 1967 TV special, Movin' with Nancy. And in that show, we noted that the video for the final song, Who Will Buy, was shot at an amusement park called Pacific Ocean Park. The park actually closed for good on October 6, 1967, 2 months before Nancy's special was aired. The park was located in Santa Monica and served as a location for many movies and TV shows, including, according to IMDb, some that were shot decades after the park closed. I don't know how that works, but...
Was it kept in working order, all the rides and everything?
I don't know. I'm not sure what's there now, but like Melrose Place shot there, and Jay Leno Tonight Show shot there, something.
Well,
baffled.
It could have been. Maybe it was a very special, spooky episode of Melrose Place, which they met the Scooby Gang. It was a Scooby-Doo movie where Melrose Place meets Scooby-Doo, and they meet at the old abandoned amusement park where everything is spooky.
Yeah, and the park manager has put a sheet over his head and trying to scare them away.
Yes, it appears to float, even though he uses no mechanism of any kind to make himself float.
Right, and stops appearing to float right before they unmask him.
Yep, suddenly you can see his legs and socks.
Anyway, my question is, which of the following shows did not shoot an episode at Pacific Ocean Park? A, Get Smart. B, I Spy. C, The Brady Bunch. D, 77 Sunset Strip.
This is a little weird because I know there's a Brady Bunch episode at an amusement park, but I'm going to say Brady Bunch because I think they were using a working amusement park. I think They were using Kings Island.
You're right. Yeah, exactly. It was Kings Island in Cincinnati. Cincinnati.com says Taft Broadcasting Company, which owned Kings Island and the Hanna-Barbera cartoons, was adept at using its Hollywood connections to promote the park. The Partridge Family had also visited Kings Island the year before for the episode I Left My Heart in Cincinnati, but most folks better remember the Brady Bunch episode, The Cincinnati Kids. I came up with this question because I just watched the Get Smart episode in question called Wax Max from season 3, and I wondered, is that the same amusement park that was in the Nancy Sinatra video? And confirmed it and then just kept digging. So...
Wow, that's cool. So in that episode, in Wax Max, I haven't seen it in years and don't remember anything about it, but did the park appear to be a working park? Were there people, walking around in it? Were rides being used?
Well, it seemed like it. I mean, there were certainly rides there. Now, the Smart episode, oh, dang, I should have checked the date. Hang on a second.
Well, it's probably after it's maybe 68.
Broadcast February 24th, 68. So just a couple months after Movin' with Nancy.
Right, and certainly after the park had closed.
Right, so it may well have been shot after the park was closed and they just filled it with extras. And then there's a scene where the bad guys have gotten everybody else out of the amusement park and it's deserted except for Max and 99. And that would be a lot easier to do if the park was permanently closed.
Yes, that's true. Now, I have a trivia question for you. How in the heck did I remember after all these years that the Brady Bunch went to Kings Island? Why? Why is that so stuck in my head? I guess I was a logo looker back then, even because I'm sure there were logos all over the place. If marketing was on their minds, they weren't trying to protect their logo or copyright or anything. They were trying to get it out there by lending themselves to the Brady Bunch.
Okay, the rest of my questions center on the idea of firsts on American TV. The problem with trying to get info on firsts is that so often the info you find on the web is wrong, and they've missed an occurrence of the attribute in question from years earlier. So one site will say it's this in 1975, and another site says, no, it's this in 1964. So you can't believe the first one you find. You have to keep looking.
Yeah, this is why I'm embarrassed, especially as an educator, that so often for this podcast I will run to Wikipedia and then think, oh, okay, and stop.
Well,
and
Wikipedia tends to be relatively trustworthy compared to some of the other shady sites out there, but
relatively, but I never send my students to it because it's just too easy, and then I go to it because it's easy. Do as I say, kids, not as I do.
Which was the first American primetime TV show on which someone said the word damn? A, All in the Family. B, My Mother the Car. C, My Favorite Martian. D, Mr. Ed.
Wow. I mean, my conscience, or whatever it is telling me I have to say All in the Family, but I'm not sure that's right.
It is not right.
Okay. Do you want me to make a second guess?
Yeah, make a second guess.
My Mother the Car.
No. My Favorite Martian.
Okay.
According to mentalfloss.com, quoting, the first primetime sitcom curse word was not uttered by Archie Bunker or Al Bundy, but by Doris Packer. You may not recognize the name, but you probably know her face. Whether as school principal Mrs. Rayburn on Leave It to Beaver, or the widow Fenwick on the Beverly Hillbillies, Packer played the role of a society matron with an accent that made Thurston Howell III sound like a Bronx street vendor. Among other roles, Packer portrayed Tim O'Hara's former teacher, Miss Pringle, on My Favorite Martian. On March 28, 1965, an episode aired in which the imperturbable Miss Pringle received an award as Teacher of the Year. In an attempt to mask her emotions as she accepted a gold watch, she quipped, "Damn thing probably doesn't even keep time." It was later revealed that this line was an ad-lib, but it nevertheless made television history as being the first time the so-called D word was said on a primetime sitcom.
Huh. Did it cause an uproar in its moment?
I don't know. There was no mention of that. You would, as relatively quite prudish, as we'll get to in the next question, as TV was then, it wouldn't surprise me. But
I'm speechless. Who would have thought that unassuming show would have spouted the first curse on national TV? Well, it wasn't until on pop radio, it wasn't until God Only Knows by the Beach Boys that the word God ever appeared in a title, at least, and possibly even in a pop song that was played on contemporary radio. So, and that was 65, 66, probably, I guess, the year of Pet Sounds.
Okay, next. Question 3. In the first few decades of TV, censors refused to let a woman show her navel on TV. Just why that was, who can say? But the United States Code of Practices for Television Broadcasters came into force in 1951, and it prohibited female navels from appearing on TV. Obviously, that edict was eventually lifted in 1983, long after it had become irrelevant.
Seriously.
But there were some early trailblazers. Some people, including a number of websites I looked at, believe that Cher was the first woman to show her navel on TV in the 70s, but she wasn't even the second or third. The first was Yvette Mimieux, if I'm pronouncing that right, in Dr. Kildare in 1964.
Okay.
Who was the second? A. Tina Louise, B. Dawn Wells, C. Nichelle Nichols, D. Nancy Kovac.
Whew. Going out on a limb as usual. Nichelle Nichols?
Yes.
Yes.
Nichelle Nichols in the Star Trek second season episode Mirror Mirror, which I watched the other day and have no memory of ever seeing before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was like, wow, where did this come from?
Wait a minute. This is gonna our TOS fans are going to like throttle me. But is that the episode with Evil Spock with the goatee?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Which spawned an amazing South Park episode in which evil Cartman shows up wearing a goatee, and many other parodies that are too numerous to mention.
Yeah, well, I felt like that episode, which I feel like I remember the title, and I used to write the titles at the bottom of my diary page so that to keep track of what I'd watched. And I feel like I remember seeing it in my diary, but I don't remember anything about the episode.
Huh. Oh,
it all seemed completely unfamiliar.
That's interesting. That's one of the few that really sticks out in my memory. Captain, I will consider it.
Yeah, you would think I would remember it because it was one of the cooler episodes that I've seen so far as I'm working through the series and finding some episodes that I'm sure I never watched. But I felt
very high concept.
I felt like this episode would probably set a lot of templates for a lot of other shows, movies, comic books, and Kirk's Mirror Kirk's girlfriend, as soon as I saw someone who wasn't in the normal cast, I thought at the end when they're back in the regular universe, she's going to show up on the Enterprise. And sure enough.
With her hair all up in a bun and looking totally prim. And yeah, exactly. And she does, too. You wouldn't want to sit behind her in a movie theater, but it's kind of nice to see at the end of the episode. It was fodder for so many episodes of the 80s and 90s Star Trek series.
Yeah, well, I guess
there was... there was recurrence of the evil twin characters on Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, I saw that there were 5 episodes. It didn't mention TNG. Did they do anything on there? Didn't.
I think there might have been one. I used to know that series so well, but I certainly remember evil Kira Nerys from Deep Space Nine because I had a total grad school TV crush on Kira, and her evil version was like, "Oh, I love you. It's too much. Shut off the TV. I can't take it anymore."
Well, and as we all know, being evil means wearing revealing clothes if you're a woman.
Yes, the dirty old man market is all over that like the proverbial cheap suit. And I wasn't even old then.
The girlfriend, Barbara Luna is the actress's name. She also shows her full midriff in the same episode.
Okay.
Reportedly, Star Trek superfan Bijo Trimble, who is later set loose the petition drive that rescued Star Trek from cancellation after season 2, was on hand at the shooting to take the NBC Standards and Practices guy to a long lunch at the time when the crucial scenes were being shot. So it got past the censors and made it to air before anybody noticed.
Wow, it was a total conspiracy.
Yes.
That's an amazing story.
Later in the same episode, in A Private Little War, Nancy Kovac's navel was also clearly visible.
Okay, but later.
Yeah, just a little bit later. Meanwhile, on Gilligan's Island, Dawn Wells and Tina Louise had to cover up their midriffs.
Yes.
Dawn Wells is quoted as saying, Oh my goodness, I designed those shorts because it was the first shorts ever on television and it had to cover my navel. Gilligan's Island actually gave censors headaches back in the 60s. Ginger's cleavage and Marianne's navel were only allowed 3 seconds an episode.
Yes, but they were given their own bylines in the end credits, unless there was a stunt navel. I was just thinking, since navels showed up so infrequently, I was always kind of depressed about Gilligan's Island when we would see midriffs with no navels, and of course then there's I Dream of Jeannie's Navel.
Right. Yeah, they covered
because
that
you had to,
too.
you had no choice but to dream of it because it was never shown.
Okay, question 4. What was the first scripted TV show to include an openly gay character? A. Star Trek. B. All in the Family. C. The Jeffersons. D. Soap.
All in the Family, no question.
That's right. Yeah, Season 1, Episode 4, Judging Books by Covers, in which Archie learns that Mike and Gloria's rather effeminate friend Roger, played by actual gay actor Tony Geary, later of General Hospital fame,
Yep.
is straight, but Archie's own beefy He-Man friend Steve is gay.
Who loves football. Goes to the bar, hangs out with the buddies. Hell fellow well met and all that, and turns out to be gay. Yes. just watched that last year when I was teaching TV history. So that's pretty fresh in my mind.
Finally, the first TV cartoon in the U.S. was Crusader Rabbit, co-created by Jay Ward, who would later go on to create Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Bullwinkle. So when you say first, Tim, you mean the first cartoon that was made specifically for television?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. It originally hit syndication in 1950 in black and white. A second series came out in 1959 in color. In the original series, the character of Crusader Rabbit, a rabbit knight on horseback, was voiced by Lucille Bliss, one of the earliest roles for a long-running voice actor who worked until the mid-2000s and died in 2012 at age 96.
Wow.
She
and June Foray were both.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's a profession that keeps you, keeps you healthy, wealthy, and wise for most of.
Yeah. Speaking of rabbits, he's an Energizer Bunny, I think.
Seriously.
Which of the following became a signature role for her? A. Wendy in Peter Pan. B. Bam Bam Rubble on the Flintstones. C. Smurfette. D. Cruella de Vil in 101 Dalmatians.
Ooh. Going for the unlikely one here. Bam Bam.
No.
Okay. Smurfette.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. She voiced the character in a number of shorts and movies in the early 80s and on 232 episodes of the TV series.
That's a signature role, all right.
She voiced Bam Bam only once on the 1977 TV movie A Flintstone Christmas.
Oh, I'm going to rush out and find that one.
She did appear in Disney's Peter Pan in 1953, but as a mermaid and was uncredited. Wendy was voiced by Catherine Beaumont, who had also voiced Alice in Alice in Wonderland 2 years earlier.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
And what about Cruella de Vil? Did you find out anything about her?
Yeah, that's oversight. I did not check that. Keep talking and I'll look it up.
It was Glenn Close. No. In the live action version a few decades later.
Right. Okay. It was Betty Lou Gerson who was Cruella de Vil.
Ooh, that name sounds strangely familiar.
Who did an episode of 77 Sunset Strip but never appeared on Batman.
It was part of the Dozier-verse.
Or at least the Horowitz-verse.
The Horowitz-verse, right.
Not seeing a lot here that I recognize. Is this? Yeah, so she was the narrator of Disney's Cinderella in 1950, the year before. Or no, I guess that a year before Alice in Wonderland. 11 years before 101 Dalmatians.
Been so long since I've seen that film that I don't remember a narrator, but it was probably kind of a once upon a time fairy tale teller.
Yeah, I don't know that she had a lot of lines, but yeah, I haven't seen it in a trillion years either. Anyway. Okay, so that's the trivia. And thanks for watching. Thanks for playing.
My pleasure.
Okay, see you next time.
All right, take care. Happy holidays.
No, not 19. Yeah, 1961. Come on, load. I'll skip this part.
Well, I'll sing. It was 1961. We called him baby. He had a toothache. He started crying. It sounded like an earthquake. The hardest button to button by the White Stripes, but it was 1981, not 61.
Okay.